In this video, I really want to talk to the tournament angler, or those of you who may be interested in fishing tournaments. Now, I know that there is a group of guys out there that watch these videos that don't really care for tournament fishing at all, and I'm still going to talk about some tips on how to locate fish. But in this video, I really want to talk kind of tournament strategy. Now, I've done a few different videos, over the last couple of months on tournament strategies, and I've actually made a playlist, and this video will be a part of that playlist. So if you're interested in hearing more, you can check that out. But in this video, I really want to talk about how you kind of put yourself in position to actually win tournaments. And so it's just something that, to me, I'm very passionate about tournaments, and I love every minute of it. I love it all. I've always been very competitive. And in this video, we're going to talk about that. Now, this video is brought to you by Clemens boats up in Sandusky, Ohio. Maybe you are a tournament angler and you are wanting to upgrade your boat. Maybe you want to get into a new boat, whether that's an Icon, maybe it's a Bass Cat. Guys, I'm telling you to go check out Clemens Boats up in Sandusky, Ohio. Not only can you take a test drive right there at their facility because it sits on Lake Erie, but you can really see how these boats handle in really big water, which in my opinion is very important. The few times that I've been scared in my life out there on the water is when I was in big water on Kentucky Lake. Even in Florida, I've hit that, not only on the Great Lakes. So anyways, if you guys are interested in a boat, or just talking boats or seeing boats or riding in a boat, check out Clemens Boats up there in Sandusky, Ohio. I will leave a link down below in the description. And don't forget to tell them that Tyler Berger or Bass Fishing HQ sent you. All right, let's talk about tournament strategies. To me, I pay attention to tournament fishing, and I have paid attention to tournament fishing my entire life. And I'm just ate up with it. Like, I love it, and I understand there's a lot of you guys who don't love it, and you may not like tournament fishing at all. But the thing about tournaments and fishing a tournament is it really limits your time out there on the water, and it forces you to fish a little bit differently. And it really kind of makes you learn more or less not only about the fish, but about how you fish. And that is really what I want to talk about in this video, because, a part of the Bass Juice podcast and a part of me just paying attention to tournaments my entire life, if you listen to almost every single winner of a tournament, the guys who win tournaments and or do extremely well, like I'm talking the guys who get top 2, top 3, top 4, top 5 in major tournaments, literally 10 out of 10 times, they all say almost the exact same thing. And one of the things is that they were doing what they love. There's a few things that they say, and the one thing is they were doing what they love. And what I mean by that is that they were doing a technique that they have a lot of confidence in. For example, when in the past, when you have seen guys like Ish Monroe win a tournament, how has he won it? He wins it on a frog, right? Like, how he's gonna win it. Now, there's other guys out there, guys like Denny Brower, and I'm naming some old school guys, but it even happens these days with new school guys as well. But if Denny Brower is winning a tournament, he was winning it flipping, a jig or flipping a plastic. These days when John Cox wins the tournaments, he's winning them in shallow water, or he's doing really well in shallow water. And this is just something that we see happen all the time in tournament fishing, is that the guys who win these tournaments are doing a technique that they love. Now, where this really kind of comes into play is when you are preparing for this tournament on any given body of water that you go to, because when you go to a new body of water, or a body of water that you're going to have a tournament on, there's a lot of times where you kind of hear the ways that you are supposed to catch them. For example, we'll talk about this most recent tournament on Lake Wheeler that the Bassmaster Elite Series went to. Now, the way that the tournament was won was fishing around grass in a shell bed offshore structure. And that is how the tournament was more or less supposed to be won. But look at a guy like John Cox, and actually look at there were several guys in the top 10 of this particular event that were more or less doing some things that they just liked to do, that they really enjoyed. For example, look at Greg Hackney. Greg Hackney was just flipping grass out there. As a matter of fact, I think he caught the big bass of the tournament or tied big bass of the tournament. And what was he doing? He was flipping grass. You know, look at a guy like John Cox. So, you know, this guy was taking his boat as far back into creeks. He was able to find this little pond where he was catching fish on a frog, something that he loves to do. And he was able to exploit it to the most. And so what I'm saying is that when you go to a tournament, when you have a tournament, if it can be won, or you think it could be won, doing something that you truly desire, that is how you should prepare for the tournament. Don't always go out there and do what you are supposed to do. Do what fits you as an angler. For example, you might like, maybe you're just a guy who really likes to throw topwaters. Maybe you're like me. I love to throw topwaters, and that's why I throw them a lot, and I start out a lot with them. And the reason being is that topwaters catch big bass. If I can find a topwater bite on a lake, I feel very comfortable out there fishing. And regardless if I'm getting a lot of bites or a few bites, I feel comfortable. And that comfort really helps you when you're out there on the water. So my big point is fish your strengths. Fish what you do the best. Don't always try to go out there and do what is supposed to win. Even when you think about tournaments that are, you know, big, for example, forward-facing sonar tournaments. Maybe you live on a lake where forward-facing sonar absolutely wins. Well, sometimes that can be hard to compete with, but other times you might find something unique. You know, you might find something that even the forward-facing sonar guys can't do. You know, maybe it's fishing grass. Maybe it's skipping, you know, a jig underneath of a dock. These are ways that you can win and do well in tournaments, and you can even outcompete forward-facing guys, especially in one-day tournaments. So the big thing is just fish your strengths. I think that that is really, really important. Another thing, and it kind of goes along with what I just talked about, is never spread yourself too thin when it comes to not only tournaments, but tournament days. You know, I'm a guy who loves to fish fast. I love to fish all over the place. I pride myself on being good at a lot of techniques, but I wouldn't say that I am like great at any given techniques. Like I feel like I'm more of a jack of all trades. Like I can do everything, and I feel like I can do it well, but I'm not like, I know guys who are way better at me at a certain technique because that is what they love. Now, with that being said, I run into the problem when I'm preparing for tournaments of trying to do too many different things. Fishing offshore, fishing, you know, shallow, you know, flipping and pitching here, doing a deep crank here. I'll have 15, 20, 30 rods, maybe not 30, 15 or 20 rods on the front deck of my boat often. And although that can have its advantages, you really have to learn not to spread yourself too thin, because to be honest, there's a lot of things out there that simply take time to develop. They take time for you to fully understand. So that's why I feel like if you have, maybe you have a weekend, or maybe you have a day set aside where you can go pre-fish for a tournament, don't always try to do everything out there. You know, like, don't spread yourself too thin. Really focus on those things, like I talked about, that you're good at, and just try to find fish in that way. Now, it may take you some time. Like, it's very important to understand. You might fish for 3-4 hours without, for example, maybe you're a shallow water guy. Maybe you love to flip and pitch up shallow. You know, instead of beat bopping out deep, beat bopping up shallow, stay shallow, fish shallow, and find that one, maybe 2 stretches where you can go out there and catch bass shallow. That is how you will do the best in any given tournament, is by sticking with your strength and not spreading yourself too thin and just giving things time. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is actually for those team tournament guys out there. And to me, when it comes to fishing a team tournament, I think that it is extremely important and underrated to try to find an angler that you fish with that you just have good chemistry with. They don't always have to be a great fisherman, as much as I think it's good to have someone you just have good chemistry with. You know, and it's hard to really fully explain that, but it's that guy, it's a good friend who you can say, or girl, who you can say, hey, you should be throwing this, or hey, you throw this, I throw this. This is something that me and my tournament partner do all the time, where it's, you know, hey, you throw a topwater, I'm gonna drag something. Or hey, you throw a chatterbait and I'll throw a square bill. You know, it's like, it's always good to kind of bounce ideas off with a buddy in the boat, and also kind of be doing two different things, because you never know throughout a day how things are going to change. And if you guys are both out there, even if you're, you know, throwing the exact same thing, but the bass change, you guys are both not going to be catching fish when they're completely doing something different. You know, you may be throwing topwaters and maybe you crushed them in the morning and you think, man, I can probably throw this all day and catch them. And so your guy who's with you, he's throwing topwaters too. And then that bite just stops and you think, oh man, the fish just stopped biting. But in reality, those same fish just slowed down, they got on the bottom, and you could have been catching them with a Carolina rig. You know, so if you have a guy in your boat and you guys can be doing kind of multiple different things, it really helps you to develop and figure out what the bass are doing out there on the water. And I think it's really good to have, you know, chemistry with a guy or a girl and be able to say like, dude, we got to go. You know, like this is me and my partner all the time with this. Like maybe he found an area during pre-fish, or maybe I found an area during pre-fish, and it was good during practice, but we get there and we spend 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and we haven't caught anything, and everything is dead. Like it just seems void of life. Sometimes that person who found that area can get really fixated on what they saw the day before or the weekend before. And it's good to have someone in your boat to say, dude, it's just not happening. It's time to go. That's the thing that I think is really important when it comes to chemistry with your partner. So, all right, guys, this is Tournament Talk. Please let me know if you like these videos. I really do. Like, I'm just passionate about it. I love it. They're awesome. So, also, don't forget to check out Clemens Boats, and I will see you guys tomorrow.